Hi, welcome back, everyone. My name's Elizabeth Elliott with Fusion Stretch and Wellness in Louisville, Kentucky. And today I am excited to have Ricky Wilson of Ricky Wilson Coaching. I found him randomly. Definitely, I think I was supposed to find his account on Instagram and am super excited to have him here. Thank you for joining me this morning.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to
Well,
share.
Me too. I'm really excited to hear your story. So, I do want to share a little bit with you guys about Ricky. He was a driven athlete, a father, a husband who on the outside looked happy and healthy, yet was dying on the inside. He fought hard, doing what he was told, only to be let down by the medical industry. Thankfully, he managed to completely heal from Lyme and live life better than ever. So, that's a lot. Living life better than ever, healing,
Better than ever. Yes.
right? Feeling let down by the medical industry. So tell us more, share a little bit about your personal experience with Lyme, like symptoms maybe you were having leading up to getting that diagnosis or questioning, do you have it? All that.
Mhm. Sure. I'll give as brief of a little background as I can, and then we'll get into some of the other stuff.
Yeah.
So my journey started in 2017. I started noticing a loss in sensation throughout my body, like my legs in certain areas would go numb. So
Mm,
like anything, I started going, well, something's wrong. I'm going to go see my doctor. Right before seeing my PCP, I noticed a little circle here on my torso, on my rib area, not a bullseye, but just enough I was familiar enough with Lyme disease to go, maybe that's something.
mhm,
So I did bring that up to her, and she did a Lyme test, came back positive, but
mhm,
it was the Western blot test. So when they ran the additional bands,
mhm,
I did not have any bands.
mm,
So they said it was a false positive. Reran the test, same thing again. She sent me to infectious disease. Infectious disease, that doctor said, well, it's possible that I might have had Lyme some point in my life, but I don't have it now. And
mm,
that started the whole journey of um, fast forward that I saw 13 different doctors in total, hundreds of tests, muscle biopsies, genetic testing. Some of the symptoms that I experienced were the shortness of breath,
mm,
severe pain, neck, back pain, headaches, blurred vision,
mhm,
uh, severe depression, anxiety, panic attacks. Panic attacks are something I'd never had until that point.
mhm,
Um, the shaking, insomnia. I would just fall asleep, and then I have this shoot of nerve pain through my body.
mhm,
And I would progressively get worse. My cholesterol was 450, which is extremely high. All my liver enzymes were high. Just everything was not good. But the doctors would look at me and go, well, you look healthy.
mhm,
I understand that, but we can tell something's wrong, they would say, but we don't know what.
mhm,
Towards the end of that, by Dr. 11, they were starting to go, well, maybe you have MS or ALS.
mhm,
And, you start to lose hope when you don't find answers. You're progressively getting worse. Um, I was ready to end it all, but I have two little girls and my wife, and I just cannot imagine going on another day. But I was eating healthy. I was,
mhm,
doing what I could do at the time. And then finally, in August of 2019, a friend recommended a Lyme specialist doctor, and I went and saw him, and he did the IGeneX test, and it came back positive for um, chronic Lyme disease. I do not think he did any co-infections. He did diagnose me at one point with babesia based on some of my symptoms, the air hunger and other things like that. So that was August of 2019. That was 2 years. So I didn't struggle as long as most people do, but it was a miserable, hard journey. And it was a relief to have an answer finally. But then reality set in. This is chronic. I'm not getting any better. I started thinking that I'm going to be in a wheelchair. I'm this bad already. How am I going to go on? But after that, I spiraled down for a little bit. Herx had some Herx reaction, did the drops and different treatments, but something changed about 4 weeks after I got diagnosed when my 4-year-old daughter asked my wife if daddy would ever be happy again. And that crushed me in a way.
mhm,
Because I wanted I beat myself up so much about not losing all the things that I was going to do and the person that I was.
Mhm.
I wanted to be a good father, a husband, and I just didn't have the energy. It was a lot of pain. I was irritable all the time. Um, so when she asked me that, there was something that kind of just lit a fire within me, and I said, you know what? I'm done being a victim to this.
Mhm.
I'm done. I'm going to beat this. I don't know how. I don't care how. I don't know when, but
Mhm.
I'm going to beat this. And I'll jump a little bit. 4 weeks later, I was completely spontaneously healed, um, and healthier than ever. My healing was a spontaneous healing and complete. I did not, I have not taken a test to see if I am completely Lyme free. I do not see the need in it. I am,
Mhm.
because I'm grateful for having gone through it now. I really am. It transformed my entire life,
Mhm.
and I am really healthier. I feel 20 years younger, feel better than I ever have. And that was 3 years ago. Um, and because of having gone through it, it has transformed my life.
Right. So you say spontaneous healing.
I do. Yeah.
And I've heard about spontaneous healing before,
Mhm.
right? Where you just woke up one day. Did you start? I know, uh, you know, I've read about Dr. Joe Dispenza, right? Really doing a lot of visualizations to heal his spine and back. Uh, did you uh, did you just wake up, or were there things that you were doing in order to? It sounds like almost a mindset shift.
Yes. So I'll explain that.
Belief or faith, or you hear about it, right, in
Mhm.
religious communities sometimes too.
Yeah. So I want to share something first that I had no idea what I was doing.
Mhm.
I didn't know it was possible. I didn't know Joe Dispenza or anything at the time.
Mhm.
It was just that deep desire that I wanted to get better. And I started saying I wasn't only going to get better, but I was going to get 120% better, that this was going to make me better.
Mhm.
So at the time, I didn't know what I was doing. But looking back, what I did was setting that intention. And that's what, Dr. Joe talks about, is that desire,
Mhm.
which meant I had to believe that an incurable disease could be cured.
Right.
Um, I didn't ask how, didn't ask when or anything like that. And I think that's important too, because that's kind of like planting a garden and then digging the seed up every day
Mhm.
to see if it's growing.
Right.
But it was setting that intention. And then from there, I detoxed my entire life, really.
Mhm.
Um, I got rid of people that were toxic, that
Mhm.
didn't believe me. Even if I couldn't get rid of them, I just separated myself from them.
Mhm.
And what I see that as is kind of taking my power back. I
Mhm.
could not be a victim anymore.
Mhm.
I could not place blame on any doctor or any medical industry, because that was a waste of energy. I
Mhm.
was focused on one thing, and that was healing.
Right.
So I mentioned after I got diagnosis, I started imagining myself in a wheelchair.
Mhm.
Had I continued to do that, I have no doubt I would end up in that wheelchair. I would still be sick today. But I had made the choice that I was going to beat it. And that allowed me to start dreaming again. Now, didn't happen in an instant there. I had to raise my vibration, or I
Mhm.
had to raise my vibration, but I didn't know that at the time. But by doing that, I didn't do meditation. I wasn't spiritual at the time, but I did a little bit of breath work. But I just used inspirational videos, motivational videos on YouTube. Music was a huge help, but
Mhm.
it was uplifting stuff. And it was things that, I'm big into sports. It was stuff that I would listen to music to pump myself up before a game or something like that. It was kind of like that, but at a consistency.
Right.
Um, and I continued to do that. And I started to think about all the things I was going to do when I was better.
Mhm.
And so I persisted in that. And in 4 weeks, it was a Sunday, October 13th, 2019. I was working outside, and I had my headphones on, listened to a motivational speech,
Mhm.
and you know what? I just kind of had this feeling of, you know what? I'm done fighting all this.
Mhm.
I'm done with it. In that moment, I surrendered everything. I just let it all go. I emptied myself.
Mhm.
Um, I I repented. I let go of my past, forgave everything, including myself.
Mhm.
And in that, I was completely healed. But it was also my spiritual awakening, which I didn't know was a thing at the time. But it awakened me and healed me completely. And I was born into a new person at that time. And life has been amazing ever since. And looking back, Lyme wasn't something bad. I was making it bad by resisting it. But when I accepted it and loved the journey,
Mhm.
that's when everything started to change.
Yeah, and, I've heard, different I can't remember, uh, different doctors along the way, or there's someone I can't remember the names, but really having to learn to embrace, right, the disease,
Hmm.
the body, see it as, an awakening almost, right? I know, my mom had breast cancer when I was 12 and 14. That's come up in most of the conversations. But for her, and I remember her saying it was sort of a wake-up call, right? Something was out of alignment.
Yes.
It doesn't it like you as you said, you sort of did a big detox. That can be, it could be food, right? It could be people, relationships, it could be actual environmental toxins,
Hmm.
right? It can be, you're not really living your purpose, or you're in the wrong career field. I mean, I believe that when we are presented with such, thing as Lyme or any sort of illness, right? It's an opportunity just for us to go, whoa, what's out of alignment? Do sort of a self inventory,
Hmm.
uh, to figure out what's next, you know? Uh,
Yes.
and, in January, I usually a declutter of stuff. I do 486 things, an item for every day. And you would
Okay.
think after like 6 years, I would not have 486 things to get rid of every January. But somehow, right, I've accumulated more stuff
Hmm.
that do I really need this, right?
Hmm.
Is it serving my best, my best self?
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly. And that's exactly what I did. So I focused on healing, and basically I was just asking, is this person or is this situation serving is it leading me to there? If not, gone.
yeah. Yeah, and I heard you say, you could be spending a lot of energy on where the medical industry failed you, right? I mean, that could just be literally sucking all that energy, right?
Hmm.
Being able to heal
Yep. I
instead of
was.
placing it in, right, a mindset shift, or even like maybe different healers, or speakers, in your case, maybe motivational speakers that you needed to be coming in. You're busy here thinking about how wronged you've been, right? Or seeking, inspiration, hope, courage, right?
Yes.
It has to change. You're sending
It.
your brain new information,
Mhm.
right?
Absolutely. And it was something and you can call it prayer or manifestation.
Right.
It's the same thing.
Hmm.
I just never learned the right way to do it, or I wasn't aware of it at the time. But it is really believing faithfully that no matter what, whatever direction you're facing is what you're focusing on is what you're going to get. And
Hmm.
when I changed from that I was sick, and it's the internal discussion, I would say that I'm so sick.
Hmm.
I I'm all alone. Nobody's helping me. I've been abandoned. All those things. Basically, what I was doing was predicting my future.
Right.
But when I made that conscious choice in that moment, I changed my choices, my internal dialogue, my relationship with myself.
Hmm.
And it was I see it as a nudge from God or the universe, whatever it is for you, um, to get me into where I was always meant to be. And when I got into alignment with that,
Hmm.
I was completely healed.
Right. So now, did this birth Ricky Wilson coaching?
It did, in a way. It started that 3 years ago, and then I kind of got sidetracked, and now I'm coming back to it. was shy to share my story just because for me it was so different. I wanted to make sure I understood every aspect of it
Mhm,
before I tried to help somebody else do it.
mhm.
But as soon as that happened, all I wanted to do was help other people do the same, because I believe anybody can transform their entire life. And this can either be a detriment to your life or a springboard.
Right.
And it's I had to make that choice. Uh,
Yeah.
and instead of looking at it as something bad, I looked at it as an opportunity, and I healed much faster than I ever dreamed. And
Right.
life is much better than I ever dreamed.
Right. And so you're back to doing most of, I guess, everything that you weren't doing?
I
Fathering and
yes.
being athletic and right?
Um
Uh,
my
spending time with the
relationships
girls.
healed, everything. Yeah.
Mhm. So then, when you're working with clients, how do you, approach, right, them with this I guess that they probably find you. I mean, I'm a big believer in trusting universe and people show up or right? Everybody, especially, or they're at least seeking to, right, raise their vibration. Or they wouldn't have
Mhm.
found I mean, or they wouldn't have found you, right? I mean,
Right.
typically
It's
that's what I
attraction.
believe. Yeah.
Mhm.
You end up and then those who don't mesh generally fall away naturally or right.
Mhm.
Mm. So when you're working with clients, what do you do?
So I do not have a standard program.
Mhm,
It's customized for each person because each person's in a different place, has different things going on, different life. And this needs to be adapted to life. I don't want a person to have to adapt to this whole different program. It gets way too uncomfortable and it doesn't stick.
mhm,
So I work with that person. First, it's like, you know, finding directions to somewhere you want to go. You
mm,
have to start where you are. So I help under them and myself understand where they are, what they're struggling with, kind
mhm,
of get an idea of their internal dialogue, their relationship with their self. And
mhm,
from there, I help them develop a custom plan. But I don't really see myself as a coach, it's more so as a guide.
mhm,
Life is all about focus. And as long as I kept my focus on I'm getting healthy,
mhm.
and not allowing those thoughts to come in, it's not possible, all those things. It was difficult on my own. I'd like to be a crutch and just a guide for people. And there's so many things that I learned through my process and sense, um, sorry, that we can that I can introduce people to, no matter what their beliefs are or anything like that. It's just reaffirming and focusing on where they're going.
Right, instead of where they've been or what's going
Mhm.
on, where they're going.
Yeah.
Are there specific, exercises you mentioned not really knowing how to do what it was prior to, um, and I get everybody is so bio individual. Uh, are there specific exercises that you think are incredibly beneficial or I mean, I know you said you weren't much of a meditator.
No, so I was not raised in a spiritual
Mhm.
environment whatsoever. I'm very spiritual now because of my spiritual awakening.
Right.
Um, I started thinking about it this way: if I could go back and tell myself 4 years ago,
Mhm.
what would I do? Or if I would happen to get sick again, what would I do? The very first thing I would do is surprisingly just be grateful for it, that I could experience it. Uh, and then start asking, what am I meant to learn from this? Not resist it, not attack it, not go, this can't happen to me.
Mhm.
Um, it is just that surrendering, allowing. From there, I would do meditation.
Mhm.
Meditation means to become familiar with. So that would allow me to basically access my operating system and maybe find the bug or the virus in my programming
Right.
that might be the root cause. I do gratitude journaling every single day, morning and night.
Mhm.
I meditate. I started out after my healing with about 5 or 10 minutes using an app like Aura or something like that. Now I do about an hour or 2 hours of meditation a day, breath work every single day. Um, but if you're looking to, it's the subconscious and you're trying to program the subconscious.
Mhm.
I write notes. I am healthy on my mirror, on my refrigerator, in my car, just a constant reminder of where I'm going. This is just, I put it on my phone, my wallpaper. I am healthy, I'm wealthy, or whatever it is that I desire at a time. And then I believe as if it's already done. I have to become that embodiment. So I had to become and think like a healthy person before I even felt any bit better.
Right.
Uh, I had to dream and envision what I was going to do when I did get better and feel those emotions now, because now is the only time that exists.
Right.
And just persist in it and do whatever works for you. I didn't do a lot of meditation or breath work beforehand. I do it a lot now, but I did what brought me joy in that moment, or what made me feel better in that moment. There's so many different things, and I think it's important that I didn't know any of this at the time, because I just followed my body and my intuition, and just allowed it to unfold. I could never see more than one step ahead of me.
Hmm.
Um, Now looking back, I could connect all the dots, but it's just that blind faith of this is where I'm going, and everything that happens. And I had some terrible days in those 4 weeks. And my
Hmm.
wife would go, "I'm sorry you're having a bad day." And I said, "You know what? I'm thankful for these bad days. I'm learning from them. My body's healing." And that's really what it is just that paradigm shift of looking at things differently.
Hmm.
Um,
Right. Sort of reframing it, I mean, as just as a gift.
mhm,
I mean, it was a gift. Otherwise, right, you wouldn't be able to share this information with others now.
right.
I mean, maybe you would have, maybe it would have come eventually, right?
Maybe.
But
Yeah.
we don't know that with certainty one way or another.
Hmm.
And so this allowed you to have this spiritual awakening. I
Yeah.
know that there's that, what that we were just talking, dying to be me, right? She mentions a spontaneous healing. And you
Yes.
have to believe in that, that can happen.
Yes.
I mean, the belief has to be so deep and profound.
Yeah. Even though I didn't feel good that's whatsoever, I had to believe it. And I that was just continuing to think that I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm stronger than this. I
Mhm,
just kept saying those things. People would ask how I'm doing. I'm having a tough day, but I'm getting better. It's just adding that little bit of, tweaks of words and thoughts here and there. And in a couple of days, I noticed a huge difference. In 4 weeks, before I even was completely healed, I didn't even care I was sick anymore. Like I was just enjoying life.
right. Having really embracing it, surrendering
Hmm.
to the sickness. When you, I think about, the power of positivity, yet also, as you said, you had to embrace and surrender to the Lyme, right? We
Hmm.
can't deny. I'm not sure where do you find denial in there as maybe being prohibiting, right, the healing. Because
Yeah,
you can start to think, or people can question, well, if I'm always in this space of positivity when I really don't feel that.
it is weird. I'm glad you brought that up, because that's a great point. Um, my response to that is it's not denying where
Mhm.
you are, it's accepting of where you are, but it's a denying that it's where you're headed. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
I saw it not as a detriment, that if I had a bad day, that wasn't 10 steps backwards. That
Hmm.
was still a step forwards. Whether I felt it or not, I had to believe that. I knew where I was headed, plain and simple. Didn't matter what happened in between.
Hmm. Right, you knew where you had.
That's the acceptance. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so were there other things that you implemented? I forget, where are you located? I forget where you are.
So I'm in Western PA. I'm about an hour south of Pittsburgh.
And so you found your Lyme literate doctor up that way?
I did. Yeah. Dr. Oreo Nishi, Blackwater Osteopathic in Mount Morris, PA. Great
Okay.
doctor.
And um oh shoot, what was I just uh, I got distracted with your location.
Um,
What were the other things that you were implementing? I mean, were there other things? I
oh,
mean,
yeah.
like new dietary, I mean, all the things. Because I have people
Um,
that herbal protocols and oxybaric chambers and sauna and red light therapy.
yeah. So I tried just about the entire gamut. When you're sick like that, you look for anything to feel even 1% better.
Mhm.
Uh, my core, my core unofficial approach to it was that I'm supporting my body healthy as and naturally as I could. I did not take any antibiotics or anything like that.
Okay.
Um, just didn't
Mm.
resonate with me. So I didn't take any of those or any prescriptions. I My diet was intermittent fasting. I think that's imperative.
Mhm.
To me, I think of the body like a battery now, and that even digesting food or holding on to anger, frustration, those things drain your battery very quickly.
Mhm.
After 12 hours fast, your growth hormone and a bunch of other benefits take place. So I do one meal a day now. At the time, I did 16/8 intermittent fasting. I did do it with keto at the time to reduce inflammation, and that did help and improve brain fog.
Mhm.
If I was to do it again, I wouldn't do keto this time around. Meat's very dense, very heavy
Mhm.
food, very hard to digest.
Mhm.
My diet now is mainly fruits and vegetables.
Mhm.
Uh, I still eat some meats and whatever I wanted, really, but to keep it to a minimum. Uh, Supplementation, the AL complex drops, Berber Panella,
Mhm.
multivitamin. One of the great products I found was ATP Fuel by Research New. I'm not going to remember the company name offhand, but it's ATP Fuel. ATP is like your powerhouse of your cells,
Yeah.
and I that helped me a lot with energy.
Mhm.
But it was just a lot of listening to my body. How did my body respond to certain things? I did saunas quite often, acupuncture, and active release therapy with a chiropractor.
Mhm.
Those were my core.
Those were.
Mhm,
And so, and as you mentioned, and the word that one of the words that uh, stood out to me was, didn't resonate, right? Like the antibiotics. And I think that it's so important for, I mean, there are so many people with credentials right next to their name that want
mhm.
to tell us what to do,
Yeah.
not necessarily just guide us. That is another word you used, right? There's a big difference
Mhm.
because ultimately, right, the power is placed back in your hands or our hands, right, as sovereign individuals to feel.
Yes.
To me, it's a feeling oftentimes, like I haven't always gone by the science
Yeah.
and been okay, right? I've made decisions that really resonate. That's the only word for me that I tend to use. Is like it just resonates. Like I feel it in my bones. This is the correct next
Yes.
step.
Right. And if you don't, so to me, until I'd made the mindset change, I didn't change much in treatments or what I was doing.
Hmm.
It was the change in mindset. And then I noticed drastic changes in the things that I was doing. I
Hmm.
think you have to put the mind in the direction that you want first before treatments.
Hmm.
And another thing that I see a lot of people doing, and I want to help with that, is um, I started complaining, I don't have enough money. This is expensive. I can't find the right doctor. I can't find the right. Take that all off the table.
Hmm.
Take it. I understand if that's what you're experiencing right now, but
Hmm.
if you want to experience something different, start saying, I always find the right treatment. I always have the right amount of money to pay for my treatments. I always find the right doctor. I always have the right support. You have to start speaking that before you can see it in your life. It's like buying a new car and then seeing that car everywhere. Kind of the
Oh
same
yeah,
thing. You have to buy the car, you have to affirm it before you can see it.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, that happens, like, when you're starting to thinking about it takes me back. I had a really bad high school breakup, and I was pretty devastated, and I was really struggling. My parents had also gone through a divorce my senior year in high school, so then I ended up at the University of Kentucky, and I had a point 0.9 at the end of that first semester, and it wasn't from partying, really. I couldn't
Mhm.
get out of I was depressed, I guess. I was even on Prozac at that time, and I don't tend I mean, that's probably the last time, I really, have really, integrated pharmaceuticals into my life. It wasn't very long period of time. I'm like, "This doesn't feel right."
Mhm.
And I knew my parents were gonna kick my ass with this point 0.9,
Mhm.
which scared me. I also was like, "How am I gonna go over this boyfriend?" And so I created all these posters, and my theme song became Gloria Gaynor's I Will Survive. And I sang it in the car, and it was not just about that, but just the whole thing, like, I will survive. And if I go back, I can see how it, you know, really moved me forward.
Hmm.
And I was able to get the grades I needed so that I could transfer because I was at the wrong school. I mean, I knew I
Yeah.
was at the wrong school. I knew going in I was going to the wrong school,
Right.
and I didn't listen to my intuition, and I ended up, bumping up my grades and moving on. And, I mean, it's just crazy how life works. But when I go back and I was like, gosh, I was introducing an affirmation of sorts.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I took the energy and placed it in making these poster boards, so that I
Hmm.
could hang all over my dorm. And I mean, and I think just hearing it, right, the words,
Yes.
saying it and
Yep.
singing it, right, just like you said, and people still do it. They play that music right there before the basketball games or getting everybody
Hmm.
hyped up, right, and,
Yes. Yep.
and instilling that sort of powerful belief that they will leave the winner.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And so I get it. It's just sometimes, it's hard, right? You have to constantly, I think, return to uh that power of belief, right? If we're not careful and we're not
Very
practicing.
sneaky. Yes.
Yeah, it's almost like practicing just like you would brushing your teeth,
Yes. Hmm.
um, or anything else that you might do every single day, right? It has to become an integral part of one's life, so that you don't, so the fear, right, and those other messages don't infiltrate their way back in.
Yes. Because at the point that I made that decision, I was at my lowest. I was in severe pain, not sleeping at all. Um, and I say that because I know there's people out there really struggling. And I know it's very hard when you're in a lot of pain to go, I'm going to get better. But the more that you do it, the more things you put in place to remind you that's where you're going, mind movies, vision boards, affirmations, music, any of that that works for you. Everybody's unique. Listen to your intuition and it will change in a matter of days. But don't go looking for it. Don't go, when's it going to happen? You're just affirming that it hasn't happened yet. It's already done.
Right.
I was shown when I asked for healing, I was already healed, but it was up to me to believe it enough to believe it into my life.
Hmm. Right. Yeah. You have to believe it into your life. And I know we're going to be coming to a close. You know, this is another just sort of small. I think that people, even if they start small, right?
Absolutely.
I remember my daughter really wanted a bigger TV. And I really didn't want to buy a new TV, but I knew I'd get a bigger TV at some point. And I kid you not, I went to go teach this yoga class literally 24 hours later. And uh, this woman that I was not a colleague, but kind of a colleague because we were independent contractors at a mental health facility here. She was getting rid of her TV. Like I knew I'd get a TV. The belief was there. I didn't know when. I
Mhm.
didn't know how. And she was getting a new TV. I was like, "Well, what's wrong with your old TV?" "Oh, nothing. I just want a bigger TV." And she's like, "You can have this one." Like it
Yep.
literally just landed in my lap. I mean,
Yes.
it could be starting with I remember like hoping for the parking right space at the front of the grocery. I don't want
Hmm.
that. I don't want that because I like the steps. But for those people who want the front row,
Yes.
just visualize pulling the parking lot. And I mean, I can't tell you how many times I get a front row Joe, but
Yep.
I mean, it's just again,
Same here. Yeah. It's expectation. I think we're through life, we're so conditioned to expect the worst. But
yeah,
what happens if you start expecting miracles every single day? You
yeah,
wake up like I wake up like just about every day's Christmas. Like what am I gonna see today? What am I gonna be shown today?
yeah,
Um, and that I had to let go of my past and all my preconceived notions of myself and all the things that were not serving me.
Right.
process my emotions, let them go. They're
Mhm.
not, they were holding me back.
Right. So really a big almost declutter detox.
Oh yeah. I completely emptied myself.
Yeah.
Just out of necessity, out of suffering. I was tired.
Yeah. Yeah. Exhausting. Well, is there anything else you want to share with us? Like, where can we find you?
I'm on Instagram. My Instagram's Ricky_Wilson_coaching. You visit my website. I need to update it, but it's RickyWilsonCoaching.com. Same on Facebook, Ricky Wilson Coaching. Love to help. If you just need guidance or just have questions or how any of this works, please reach out. All I want to do is help. I believe that anybody can get to this point, and I want to see that happen for everybody.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining us today. Be sure to check out RickyWilsonCoaching.com and Ricky_Wilson_coaching on Instagram. That's how I
Mhm.
found him. He's got some great motivational messages there. So be sure to check him out. Thank you again so much for joining me today.
Thank you for this opportunity and for what you're doing to
Thank,
inspire people.
thank you so much. And I hope you all have a great day.
You too. Thank you.